How's it going, everybody? Welcome to our Ask a Career Coach. My name is Martin McGovern, and we are just getting started. It's about 2 o'clock, so we're going to give it a few minutes for people to join. And again, our topic for today is, does a LinkedIn profile replace a personal portfolio website? It's going to be a fun question. We're going to dig into it, and then we're going to open it up to all the questions that you have on your mind. So if you've got friends who are job searching right now, ping them and tell them to come join. If you have questions, put them in the chat. And one thing I'd like to know is, where in the world are you joining us from? I'm in Chicago right now, and would just love to just hear how many people from all different parts of the globe we got on the call today. Thanks for joining. Just hold on for a minute or two as we allow people to join the chat. Thank you. Ooh, we got Utah. We got San Diego. We got south suburbs of Chicago. How's it going, neighbors? Ann Arbor, Michigan. Egypt. All right, thank you for submitting your questions. We're going to be collecting all the questions. We have Karen in the chat. She's going to be passing them on to me, and I'll be digging into each one as they come through. So please, please, please put your questions in the chat, and we'll be getting to them shortly. We got Meredith. We got Lawrence, Kansas. Guatemala. Algeria, Brazil, Chile, India, somewhere where the snow is, it's 30 degrees Fahrenheit, I guess. And the snow is, it almost looks like it says the snow is 30 feet. India, Nigeria, West Virginia, Morocco, Algeria, France, Brazil, Florida, Venezuela, India. This is amazing. Yes, it is being recorded. Thank you for your question, Ivan. So you'll be able to come back and watch this anytime you want. Well, I also chop it up and share it in bits, in question by question, that is going to be slowly rolled out over time. So if you are curious, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be sharing those individual clips out as well. We got Paraguay, Sudan. One thing to call out as we get into our chat today: my background is in marketing and career development, so I have a lot of great insights into the job search, how to promote yourself, how to get seen, how to connect with people, build relationships, interview, all that good stuff. But when it comes to the hyper technical questions about coding, that is where my knowledge and my expertise ends. And so if you do have technical questions, feel free to ask them and bring them to the Slack channel, the alumni Slack channel, where we can actually bring you some real good advice from folks who are doing that work. I can only give you broad strokes, but they can give you the real answers. So it's great that you have those questions. Let Karen know. She'll point you in the right place to share those out and get some feedback. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for being a fan. Niraj, I really appreciate you joining us today. That's awesome. We got Egypt, San Diego. Looks like we're about 4 minutes, so we're about to get started. Just one more minute. Kenya. Oh, man, we got everyone from all over the world here today. I'm loving it. All right. We are about 5 minutes in, so we're going to get started with our first topic. And our first topic today is the question, does a LinkedIn profile replace a personal portfolio website? Now, this is a really interesting question, and we just released a video this morning on LinkedIn about it. And there's a number of different things that you want to think about as you are analyzing your LinkedIn, your personal website, and all the other profiles that you have out on the internet. This is more than a question about LinkedIn versus a profile. It's a question about your online presence, your online brand, and what it is that you're trying to showcase to the world so that these companies that are Googling you can get the right information, right? All right, so to simply answer the question, does a LinkedIn profile replace your personal portfolio website? The answer is no. Unfortunately, I know you all want me to say yes so that there's less work to be done, but the truth of the matter is your online presence is a combination of many different sources: your GitHub, your LinkedIn, your personal website, and other areas on the web. Twitter, LinkedIn, or Twitter, Instagram, different things like that. Now, the reason that it doesn't replace it is because each serves a different purpose. When you're thinking about your LinkedIn profile, what is it really? Well, it's actually a number of different things. Your LinkedIn profile is a supercharged or amped up version of your resume. It takes what you have to try and force into one page and allows you some more breathing room to share more examples, more bullet points, more jobs, all the different stuff. It's really a chronicle of everything you've accomplished within your career: volunteer work, personal projects, everything. And it's also much better than a resume. And by the way, you do need a resume as well. It does not replace the resume. What makes it so much better than a resume is you can include media in each position. So you can link to presentations you've done, projects you've worked on, all sorts of different things. And you can also amp it up with different keywords that you want to be known for, because recruiters are going to be finding you based on the keywords that they type in. They're going to be typing in, programmer with, C++, HTML, whatever the thing is. And so it's not only a great place to showcase your work like a resume is, but, much more developed. It's also a place to be found, because that's where the majority of companies and recruiters are, and they are using it as a tool, as a research tool to find candidates. Now, the great thing about it is the research tool works both ways. So not only can you be found if you have a robust profile, but you can use the same search tools to find people to network with, companies to work for, and jobs to seek out. So it's a really wonderful tool for both showcasing as well as researching and connecting, more importantly, with people who can help you in your career, people who you want to, work for someday, and all these different things. Follow companies, research companies, all that great stuff. But LinkedIn falls short in the visual design. Because it needs to be ubiquitous and because it needs to be able to hold so much data and information, and it's really more of a research tool than a showcase. All those media links that I talked about that you can put in there are tiny little boxes, and a lot of them are hidden, and a lot of people won't click on them. So if you are only using LinkedIn and all of your projects are in these tiny little boxes, hard to find, hard to scroll, hard to see, then people aren't going to be able to get to the thing that you want them to see the most. It might get lost in the shuffle. So what we want to do is create a personal website. What the great thing about a personal website, personal portfolio, is that there's a large variety of ways you can do it. You can have a one-page site, a blog site, a portfolio site, as was mentioned in the question. You can really be creative, and you can do a lot of different things. And unlike LinkedIn, which you have no control over the design, you can actually control every element of how your personal website looks. So it's an extremely important thing to own in your, not just your job search, but in your life. Own your presence on the internet. And so what companies can do is they can go to that profile and see a little bit more about your personality, see the projects that you want to highlight, see any articles you've written or things you want to share or bring to the top of the pile. Everything is chronological in LinkedIn, but you can just put your best stuff at the top on your personal website. So if you take a look at my website versus my LinkedIn, they serve two completely different purposes. One is just a collection of all these videos, literally in a grid, and the other one is all of my past work history, laid out very easy for people to see. The other thing that you want to keep in mind when it comes to any sort of social web page, any sort of online profile is that who knows what's going to happen with LinkedIn in the next 30 years. It could go the way of MySpace. It could be a place that no one goes to. I don't think that's going to happen, but you'd never really know. So you never want to hang your hat on any one platform. Instagram could easily become MySpace. Facebook is already kind of turning into MySpace. Snapchat is uncertain of where that's going to end up. So you want to diversify your online presence the same way you would diversify, an investment plan. You want to have the things that you own and you control. No one can really take your website away from you, ever. And you are always in control of how it looks. The algorithm won't change on it. The design won't suddenly change on it. If you're on YouTube, a lot of YouTubers complain that things get demonetized. There's all sorts of things outside of your control in these platforms that you join. All right, so that's a couple of reasons why you want to use one over the other. But another thing to keep in mind, and this was in the video this morning that was released, is the idea around the job search of, do I need to do this? Do I really need to network? Do I really need to build a website? Do I really need to be practicing my development skills on the side? Do I have to do all these things? And it's an interesting question that comes up because I understand the frustration. I understand when you go to start your job search, you're told that you need to create 8 million different profiles. You need an Indeed profile and a Glassdoor profile and a LinkedIn profile and a personal website and a GitHub profile, and it just goes on and on and on, right? There's just no end to the number of profiles that you need to create. Now, of course, you want to be smart. You don't have to do everything. You need to prioritize. You don't need to be active on LinkedIn, Twitter. There's maybe 8 or 5 to 8 places that you should be active on, and even then you should prioritize how active you are on each place. I'm personally very active on LinkedIn, not so active on Twitter, barely active on Instagram, right? That might change in the future, but that's the current setup. But the key thing that I want to take away from this discussion is the mentality of, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. I just want to apply to jobs through Indeed. Or I just want to apply to jobs through LinkedIn. Why won't that just work? Why isn't that enough? And the truth of the matter is that we live in a very competitive world. So of course, that's not going to be enough. There's lots of people. And if you're doing the bare minimum thing, you're going to get the bare minimum. Or let's say if you do the average thing, you're going to get the average results. And the average results are very few responses from online job boards. And so what we want to do is, instead of this yes, but mindset, it's yes, I know, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to put the time in. We need to flip it to a yes and mindset. And so in the video we shared this morning, this is a concept from the world of improv, where anytime someone throws out a suggestion, you have 2 ways you can respond to it. The first one is saying, no, but that's not right. And the second way is to say, yes, and here's how I'm going to do it, or here's how I'll respond. It's about accepting the fact of the world and then building on it. So, all right, you need to have a personal website. Yes, and I'm going to make it look like this. Or yes, and I'm going to share this information there. Or yes, and I can't wait to showcase my projects. Things like that. So try and adopt this yes and mindset. Go watch that video. It's up on LinkedIn. And just really embrace it, because it's going to be something that, or actually it's not on LinkedIn. It'll be on YouTube later today. So keep an eye on our YouTube channel. And so just keep that in mind, because it's really going to be helpful in everything you do in your career. When someone says you should network, instead of saying, no, but I'm not ready to network, you should say, yes, and I'm going to reach out to someone I know first to start practicing. All right. So that's the mindset that I want us to get into as we approach the job search. And now we're going to dig into the rest of your questions here today. All right, our first question is from Rachel. How do I start a new job after a 2-year break? Now, this is a big question, and the first thing that I need to know in response is, what were you doing over that 2-year period? Were you taking care of your family? Were you, out for some other reasons? What were the reasons? Because that's going to shape the way in which you develop your plan and your story to get back into the game. But in general, when it comes to starting a new job after a 2-year break, the first thing you're going to need to do is define exactly what it is you want to do. You probably are sitting there with lots of ideas, a lot of things that went through your mind over the past 2 years. Oh, I could do that. I could do this. I could live here. I could live there. There's a million options, right? There's this concept called analysis paralysis or choice paralysis, where the more open-ended our options are, the harder it is to make a decision. And we made a video about this. It's, you're walking down the toothpaste aisle and you're like, do I need tartar control? Do I need whitening? Do I need gel? Do I need paste? Do I need sparkles? Do I need SpongeBob? Like, there's so many different things that you've got to consider. And if you really tried to break it all down, it's just going to be too crazy. So what you need to do is simplify your options. The first thing I would suggest you do is say, this is where I'm going to live. I see all the time job searches where I'm applying in Texas, I'm applying in California, I'm applying in Alaska, I'm applying in, it's like, whoa. You got to narrow down before you start sending out all these applications, because it's just too crazy. Your brain is too scattered when you have too many options in front of you. And when you talk to people, they're going to say, well, what are you looking for? And if you just say, I'm looking for any job in any industry, anywhere in the world, no one can help you. But if you say something specific, like I'm looking for a programming internship that works with a certain program in the automobile industry in this state, let's say Detroit or something, right? That is a very specific thing that I can go look at my network, find someone, and connect you. So number one, be very specific on where you want to be. Number two, be very specific on what industry you want to be in. So it could be health and beauty, it could be automotive, it could be banking, it could be education. Google LinkedIn industry codes, and it'll give you a great list to sort of break this down so you can choose a couple. And then you want to be very specific about your job title. Now, different companies have the same job title, but when you actually get in there, it's a completely different role. And other companies have completely different job titles, but it's the same role. You got to do a little bit of networking in order to figure out if this role that you think you want, the one that you think you want in your head, actually aligns to what the reality of the role is. So you're going to pick maybe 2 or 3 of your favorite job titles, prioritize them, and then go meet people who do those jobs in order to confirm your initial assumptions or deny your initial assumptions. So that would be where I start. Be very clear on your location, be very clear on your industry, be very clear on your job title, and then use that information to go network with the right people, specifically people who live in that location, work in that industry, and have that job title. And if you do that, you'll be moving in the right direction to get back on your feet. And then the 2-year break, the way you just talk about that is say, here's what I did, here's what I learned, here's what I was working on, or just explain the situation and say, so that's what I've been doing the past 2 years. What I'm currently working on is learning X, Y, and Z, and I'm really excited to apply it to this location, this industry, this job. And you just move forward. Spend less time looking back, but don't ignore it. Just address it and just talk about the future of what you want to do. All right, our next question. How to use LinkedIn to find a job in the field of data science and machine learning. Great question. Oh, sorry. I got to say the name before I say the question. Hamza, how do I use LinkedIn to find a job in the field of data science and machine learning? Awesome question. So when it comes to finding a job in any industry, but data science and machine learning, the first thing I'd ask you to do is say, well, which one do you want to focus on? Again, back to the focus. The more focus that we have, the better. So data science and machine learning, which one are you, how would you prioritize the two? Then say, what companies do I respect that are working in this area? And you might not know what the companies are. So go to the LinkedIn people search. If you look at the search bar at LinkedIn, it gives you 3 options of how to search. The first one is jobs, which is where we all start. The second one is people. And the third one is content. Now you can use content as well. If you click on the hashtag for machine learning, what's really interesting about that, if you click on that hashtag, it'll bring up all the companies that are sharing any sort of posts about machine learning. And you might find a lot of small companies, a lot of, we all go after the big names, but that's not the big names are hard to get into because everyone wants to be at the big name. If you go find some small name companies, you can get a job much, much faster because the competition is lower. So what you can do is you can click on that hashtag. It'll pull up all the posts about machine learning, and you can just start scrolling through and saying, and this could be in the content search, so the search bar for content. You start saying, all right, this company shared a post about machine learning. Are they a machine learning company? Click through to the company profile, take a look at the jobs they have open, take a look at the employee list, and say, oh, they do have some machine learning data science people on staff. I'm going to reach out to those people, connect with them, see if there's any opportunities to help out and work there. So that's one way to use hashtags in order to explore LinkedIn and find opportunities. And then the other way is to just go straight to the people search and type in machine learning as the job title. Again, the location and the industry that you want to be in. And it'll bring up a list of probably, something between 500 and 1,000 people. And you can go down the list and say, this person works at that company as a machine learning engineer. Now I know that company hires for machine learning. If they've hired for machine learning before, there's a good chance they're going to hire for machine learning again. So I'm going to follow that company. I'm going to reach out to that person. I'm going to start building a relationship so that the next time a job opening happens in that company for machine learning, you can just reach out to that person and say, hey, we chatted a few months back. I really appreciate you sharing all that information. I saw this opening come up. Would you be willing to pass along my resume? And that's how you really use LinkedIn to do research, to network, and to pursue these jobs. So that's why LinkedIn is such a wonderful place, because it kind of brings it all together. If you just had your personal website, you wouldn't be able to do all this stuff on there, right? People aren't coming to your personal website very much. But LinkedIn has all those tools, so utilize them. The next question here comes from Shakti. How can I become a successful web developer? The first thing I'll say in response to this question is I am not a web developer. So knowing how to, day-to-day become a successful web developer isn't going to be the thing that I'm going to be able to comment on. That's going to be something that you're going to want to reach out to people who you think are already successful web developers and ask them, how did they become as successful as they are? Awesome conversation starter, complimentary toward them, and a good networking connection for you. So I would say the first thing you want to do in order to become a successful web developer is to reach out to successful web developers and try and surround yourself with people who are already successful in that field. This is going to be something that you're going to feel intimidated by because you don't feel successful yet, but you got to challenge yourself to reach out to the people that are leading in the field. And so you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Try and surround yourself with people who you think either are successful or are going to be successful. Look around at the people that you know who are doing what you do, but are dedicated to it, are excited about it, really enjoy talking about it, love learning about it. Those are the people that will help bring you to the next level and bring you to the next level and bring you to the next level throughout your career. If you don't have anyone around you that is interested in what you're interested in, it's hard to really dedicate your time to it. You feel kind of isolated. You start to wonder if this was the right choice. But if you have a good network of people, even people at your level, that's a wonderful way to continue to sort of set yourself up for success over a lifetime. Another thing to keep in mind is to pay it back. Join some professional organizations, mentor people who are below you as you're moving up. So it's not just about you getting value, from the people higher than you. It's about giving back to the people who are coming up behind you. And I think if you really try and provide value in both directions, you're going to really set yourself up for a great career as a web developer. And then just really basically do it every day. If this is what you really enjoy, if this is what you're interested in, and you want to be great at it, if you want to be successful at it, there really shouldn't be a time that you want to stop. I mean, you'll want to stop. We all get tired. We all burn out. We all feel demotivated. Don't worry about that stuff. But when you're thinking about what should I do next, go read more books, go build more projects, go collaborate with more people. Make it fun, make it interesting, make it something that apply it to a bigger issue that you care about. Maybe if you want to be a web developer and you also really care about humanitarian efforts, or you also really care about food waste, or you also really care about other things, volunteer for organizations where you can practice your skill set and also help a cause you care about. These are things that really help keep you engaged and focused and growing over time. Should I wait for my interview Anita, should I wait for my interview preparation to finish before applying for jobs? I finished the front end nano degree 2 months back. Should I wait for my interview preparation to finish before applying for jobs? I think what I want to dig into on this question is the idea of waiting. Why are we waiting to do anything? We're waiting out of insecurity. We're waiting out of fear. We're waiting because we don't feel ready. We're waiting because we don't want to look stupid. I hear this all the time. I'm going to wait to reach out to that person until I know more, or I'm going to wait to apply for that job until I've taken this other course. While it might be true that you're not ready for that role yet, I think what's more important than being ready is building a skill set of action. Every time you wait to do something, you ingrain in your brain that waiting is the proper course of action. And what's going to end up happening is if you keep doing that during the job search, it's going to carry over into the job. And what's going to happen is you're going to be assigned a project and you're not going to feel ready for it, and you're going to procrastinate it because your baseline is to wait. Not to ask questions, not to go do something, but to wait. And so we want to really challenge ourselves. Anytime that our brain starts saying, wait, we want to say, well, why am I actually waiting? What is the harm that's going to happen from taking action? So if someone says, I want to wait to network until I know more because I don't want to feel stupid, well, you could wait the rest of your life. When will you ever get to a point where you know everything? It just won't happen because the technology will keep changing. And then the other thing you have to realize is the other person you're talking to doesn't know everything. So what we are foundationally thinking, what our brain is telling us, is that we need to be a certain way before we can do something. When the truth of the matter is we just have to change our perspective on it. We need to move from I need to be perfect, I need to be knowledgeable, to I already am curious and I am learning. This is another step in my learning process, is to learn how to reach out to people, learn how to have conversations about things I don't know all the answers to, and learn how to ask good questions in order to continue learning and growing. You can't learn and grow if you're not networking and meeting people and talking about things. So when it comes to waiting for your interview prep to finish, my answer would be don't wait. Just go do stuff. And as you're doing stuff, you'll fail at a bunch of it and then get better at doing that thing, right? You'll get feedback. Just go start applying. If there's like certain jobs that you really, really want to apply to, I think it's fine to wait till your third application that you send out to send it to the one you really want, so you can kind of brush off the cobwebs. But don't wait till like a month or two later. Just like get a couple down to companies you don't care about and then go after the bigger fish. So don't wait, just do. Thank you, Anita. All right. Again, I'm going to apologize because I'm not great at names, but I believe this is pronounced Ja. Ja has a question. How does GitHub play a role in building our profile? I want to, again, caveat this with I'm not a developer, so I don't use GitHub. However, from the conversations that I've had and the people that I've chatted with and the knowledge that I've sort of gleaned from all these interactions with you all, GitHub's role is to do a couple of things. One, I believe you can use it to connect with other people and collaborate on projects. And then number two, it shows that you're constantly learning from an outside perspective. It shows that you're constantly learning and growing over time. The most important thing from an outsider looking in, let's say I'm a hiring manager or recruiter. I go to your LinkedIn profile or I go to your GitHub profile and I look at that square of activity, all those green shaded dots, squares, the grid, right? That green shaded grid. If your grid is solid and like you are active every day and you are updating every day and you are doing things, showing that you're learning, showing that you're growing, showing that you're building, that's going to look really, really good. If I go to your GitHub and there's like 3 or 4 dots and a bunch of white space, it's going to show me that you're not really dedicated, that you're probably not learning and you're probably not growing during this time of your job search. And I'm going to start asking why. Why did you stop? And there's a million reasons to stop, but the people that I see who are super active and have very heavily green grids are also the people that are super active in their job search and applying to lots of companies and networking a bunch and things like that, because they know it's important to be consistent and they know it's important to be updating things every day and not waiting a week to take action on stuff. So I think in building your online presence, it's one element in a larger group of elements, but it's one that you want to keep consistent and you want to show growth, because that's going to be something that companies value when they come and check out your GitHub. Thank you so much for your question. Our next question comes from Musab. If I enrolled in the university, oh, here we go. All right. So if I enrolled in a university in the past and did not complete my bachelor degree, do I need to include that in my LinkedIn profile? This is a great question. This is one that's definitely up for debate. I think it depends on a number of factors. The first thing is, how long were you in the university? Was it what? And also how much work history do you have? If all you have is your university work, it's debatable of whether or not you should include it, because if you have nothing else to sort of fill out the gaps, it might just be a glaring hole. Let's say you were there for 2-3 years, they're going to say, well, what were you doing in that time? In their head, they're not going to actually ask you that, but in their head, they'll be like, well, what happened in this gap here, right? That's becoming more and more acceptable to have gaps, but I do think that it's something that you might want to sit down and think about and maybe address if needed. However, when it comes to your educational background, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it in an interview or with people, then it's maybe not something you want to include right away. But I would encourage you to feel good about talking about it. So let's say the reason that you didn't finish your bachelor degree is because you went to a boot camp, or you started a job, or you changed interests, or maybe the financials didn't work out. There's a lot of reasons that are acceptable to talk about, and then just say, because I didn't get to finish, here's what I've done instead. I've gone to Udacity, I've learned these other things, I've worked on these projects, and you just sort of shift the conversation into what you do want to talk about. So I would say, in the past, if you have these things, if you don't know how to talk about it, don't include it. If you do know how to talk about it, even though it might not look great on paper, I would say it might be something that's okay to include, but try and hit us up in the chat or email me or hit me up on LinkedIn, and we can maybe fill out some of the gaps there so that you can feel comfortable with whatever decision you make here. Because I don't think it's as cut and dry as a yes or no. But thank you so much for your question. All right, our next question comes from Ankush. How can I reach potential recruiters through a LinkedIn search? This is a great question. Do recruiters want you to reach out to them? I'm not sure. It seems to me, from the experience that I've had and the stories I've heard, recruiters, it's a hard word to say sometimes, recruiters want to reach out to you. They don't necessarily want you reaching out to them. They have their search queries and they're going through and they are reaching out to dozens, hundreds of people trying to find the right person for the job. So if you reach out to them, it could be beneficial. You might have some good conversations. But they have so many people that they're looking at. And again, at the end of the day, or not again, but at the end of the day, the recruiter's job is not to get you a job. The recruiter's job is to help the company find the best candidate. So they don't work for you. So if you're asking them to do the job search for you, if you're reaching out trying to outsource the work so that you don't have to do it, that's not going to be fun for them. They're not going to want to do your job search for you. They want to find good candidates that are a no-brainer. So they look for things like your education history. Did you go to a big name college? Your work history. Did you work at Google? Did you work at Facebook? Those are the things that make it easy to sell someone. But if you do reach out to them, you need to think about it from their perspective. You need to show them, give them a good story as to why you'd be a candidate. Be specific. Don't just say, hey, I'm Martin and I need a job and you're a recruiter, give me a job. It's just not going to work that way. So instead of reaching out to potential recruiters on LinkedIn, I would recommend reaching out to people who actually work at the company. Reach out to people who have the job title that you want. Reach out to people who work in the marketing team. Reach out to people that do all sorts of different jobs so that when you actually get to an interview, you can talk about the company as a well-versed, knowledgeable person. And those contacts that you'll make and the referral, like if you can get someone to give you an internal referral, that beats a recruiter any day. So I would highly recommend, instead of spending your time on recruiters who have lots and lots of people vying for their attention, try and reach out to some people who maybe aren't getting a lot of attention, the people who just have the job title that you want to have. They're not on the hiring team, but they know the people on the hiring team potentially. So that's a really good place to start. And thank you so much for your question. Jamal, I love this question. Thank you so much for sharing it. What kind of posts should we post on LinkedIn? Great question. Okay, so I was talking about this with someone yesterday, and when it comes to what to share online, there's a few things I want to talk about. The first one is, why should you share anything? The reason you want to share things online is because every time you share something or comment on something or like something, your name pops up on someone else's screen. What that means is, like, look around the world. I think we see something like 2,000 advertisements a day. Pop-ups, banner ads, billboards, bus ads, TV ads, Instagram ads. Everything is everywhere, right? Amazon is amazing at this. You search something on Amazon, it will show up 100 times on 100 different devices, to the point where you're like, fine, I'll buy it just to get this to go away, right? And so what we want to do, what we want to think about as we're going out there, sorry, the gain is a little high on my microphone. Let's see if I can turn it down a bit. All right. Yeah, I think it's that way. All right. So what we want to think about, as we're posting, as we're sharing stuff, is what do we want to pop up on someone else's screen with? Do we want to be, sharing things about the food we bake? Or like, I baked a cake yesterday. Could be something you want to be known for. Do you want to talk about the books you're reading? Also something interesting. Do you want to talk about the projects you're building? Also interesting. Articles you're reading? Also interesting. The more related your posts are to what you want out of each of these profiles, the better it will be. So let's get into some specifics here. So if last night I was chatting with someone and he was asking me what to post on LinkedIn. He had this post about minimalism that he really wanted to put up. And so we were just talking about it, and I'm like, look, if I posted videos about baking, would you have come up to me at this networking event and talked to me about careers? You would have come up and talked to me about baking, right? So if he posts things about minimalism, while it's interesting, it's not exploring his expertise in programming, which is what he wanted to get a job in. So what we talked about, we went back and forth for a little bit, and we came to the idea of, what about minimalism in programming? How to simplify websites, how to simplify code, how to simplify the process of building a project. These, you can take your minimalist personality, identity, interest, and apply it to what your interest, to your career interests. And that will be a unique perspective that people might want to share, comment on, and things like that. So when you're thinking about what to share, try to make it relevant to the things that you want people to know about you. And if you're on LinkedIn, specifically make it about your work. I'm not going to be sharing any videos of me cooking, number one, because I'm a terrible cook, but number two, because it's just not relevant to what you need. And that's the other thing to keep in mind. What do other people care about? Can you share information that isn't just talking about yourself and how great you are, but also solving people's problems? The videos that we share on LinkedIn, if it was just me talking about how great my career is, number one, I mean, my career has ups and downs just like everyone else, so it's not authentic. But number two, it's not interesting to people. I at least in my own opinion, I try to share things that help people, right? And so maybe you can put that twist. Maybe you don't have things that you know how to help people with yet. Then just share your projects, share things that you're interested in. Maybe just think, what would someone be interested in clicking on? And find an article about it and share it. So number one, the reason that you share, the reason that you post, and the reason you like and comment and all that other stuff, aside from it just being, fun for some people, a lot of people are lurkers and they don't want to comment, but it brings you to the top of mind for people. Congratulate people on their raises. Comment, like when people post stuff, they love it when people comment and like. So it's almost like upvoting on Reddit. Every time you upvote, the person who posted that post is like, yay, I got an upvote. So you're actually being like, you're bringing a lot of like good vibes, let's say, to your LinkedIn community when you're engaging in other people's content. So just kind of think of it from that perspective. Engage because it's good to be top of mind. Engage because it makes people feel good. Engage because you can learn something from the things that you post and share and comment on. And just try and be positive and bring, good intent and helpful information to people in your network. And if you do that on a consistent basis, people will take notice. And honestly, like if you have any sort of charisma that shows up well on video, right now, LinkedIn video is the best organic reach you can get. That will change eventually as advertisers move in, and same with like Instagram stuff. Like Instagram is no longer as organically successful. You kind of have to pay to play now. But LinkedIn, if you want to create some videos, just talking about your work, talking about projects, talking about data science, things like that, I don't know, you're going to get in front of a lot of eyeballs. And that's good for your search because then people might comment and then you can be like, hey, you look like you're doing an interesting job. You want to get coffee? That might lead to a role for you someday. Who knows? Thank you so much for your question. Roy Wing has a question. How can a UX designer better use LinkedIn to find internships? So I'm going to reiterate what we talked about earlier. Use the search functionality to network with people who are currently UX designers. Reach out to them, ask them what they love about their work, what they're struggling with, what they're excited about, what they need help with, and they'll say a bunch of stuff. And then if you want an internship, say, I have some time in my schedule. It sounds like you're struggling with X, Y, and Z, very simple tasks. I could help out a couple hours a week as an intern if that's something you're interested in. I'll even do it for free because I'm just looking to get some experience and build my resume. Would that be something you're interested in? That's how you turn a networking interaction into a job or an internship. You don't go up to them and immediately say, give me a job. You go up to them and you learn about them. You learn about their struggles. You learn about what they're trying to accomplish. What projects are coming down the pipeline that you're super excited about building? And, what are some of the things that might prevent you from accomplishing that? If you get an answer to that question, you can go home and say, I could help in a certain way. So let's say from a marketing standpoint, talking to someone and saying, oh, cool, you have a new product coming out. It sounds really exciting. How are you doing your social media? And they'll be like, we don't have a social media plan right now. Oh, well, I'm looking to get some social media experience. Would you mind if I intern for you a couple hours a week? Nope, you wouldn't have to pay me. I'll just do it. I'll get social media experience. You'll get some free posts on your Instagram or whatever it might be. And, value going both ways. And if you have more experience, you charge a consulting fee or a contract fee. And that's how you sort of build up to a full-time job if you're trying to get in as an intern at this point. So great question, Roy. Thanks for sharing. Fernando, is it recommended or discouraged to use Easy Apply on LinkedIn for a job application? Additionally, should I use the in-mail option on LinkedIn to send a job application directly to the job poster? So many great points in this question. All right, let's try and break it down. Is it recommended or discouraged to use Easy Apply on LinkedIn for a job application? Anytime something says easy, or we'll do it for you, or come here and we'll solve your problems, I always have a strong negative reaction, because the truth of the matter is there is no such thing as an easy job search, especially when you're trying to break into a field or change careers or something like that. I like to think of the Easy Apply as a passive job search. So if you already have a job and you're just browsing and you don't want to put a ton of effort in because you're actually kind of happy where you're at, but hey, this looks interesting, Easy Apply. Fine. I'm not gonna, hate on that. But if you are gunning for a job right now, if you have like 4 months left till you are broke or something along those lines, I would not be easy applying to anything. I would be customizing my cover letter, trying to customize my resume as much as possible, reaching out and networking with people. Easy Apply is like out of sight, out of mind. If you are actively job searching, you need to be actively engaged. So I would discourage Easy Apply for people who need a job, who are trying to make a change, who have a very focused goal that they need to accomplish. The next thing you ask is, should I use the in-mail option on LinkedIn to send a job application directly to the job poster? This is a great question too. I just applied for a job. It told me who the person is. Can I use in-mail, attach my resume, say I just applied? You can, but here's the thing. You always have to look at it from the other person's perspective. And here's how those emails typically look from what I've seen. Someone says, job opening, or whatever your subject line is, just applied. They open your in-mail and it says, hi, my name is, I just applied, give me a job. Here's my resume. Everything is about you. You don't talk about the problems you solve. You don't talk about the company and how you want to contribute to their goals and their vision of the future. You're just asking for a job. And the more you're asking for a job, the less people want to give you a job, because it sounds very selfish. But the more you're talking about the value you can provide them, the more you talk about how much you care about their goals and what they want, the more receptive people are to talking to you. So if you send your resume in an in-mail, the chances of you getting a positive response are not super high. You probably won't get negative responses. You'll probably just get no response. What I think is a much better way to do it is to say, all right, that person is the main contact. Maybe instead of resending my resume, which they already have, and they're going to put through the system anyway, reach out and just say, hey, I saw you were the hiring manager. Looks like you have some really interesting things going on. And I'm really excited to, continue the conversation, learn about the company, and see if there's any value I can bring to the team. Thank you so much for your consideration. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So now you're following up on your application, which is a good thing, but you're doing it in a way that's more about them and how much you care about them than about what they can do for you. And if they see that, then they'll go look you up in the application system and potentially bring you in for a role. So I would definitely err on the side of making it more about them. And then when it comes to using InMail and things like that, I typically discourage connecting with someone on LinkedIn as your first thing. Because typically if they don't know who you are, they'll only really do one thing for you. So if they've hit connect, accept connection, then the chances of getting a coffee with them go down. But you can use InMail to get in touch with them without connecting with them. Then you can, in your InMail, say, it looks like you're doing some interesting things, would love to grab coffee and learn more about what you're working on. Grab coffee with them, and then after the coffee, connect with them on LinkedIn. Because then they're like, oh, I know this person, I want them in my network. That's something you can do with InMail if you have the option of InMail. But you can also do it by looking up their email somewhere else. You can use findthat.email. You can use a number of different, like Clearbit, I think is another one, to find someone's email and just reach out to them and say, while I was researching this industry, your profile came up, looks like you're doing some great work. Would you be open to coffee? I'd love to learn more about what you're doing and what you're working on, and see and just see if there's anything, I don't know, I'm kind of trailing off at the end there, but like see if I can bring value basically. And so you have those conversations and then you connect, and then you can start a dialogue over time. So you can use, I would recommend using InMail, but I would recommend using it in a slightly different way than just sending your resume a second time. Our next question is from Beta, and it's a hard one. This is a great question. I appreciate you for sharing. I'll share as much information as I can, as I know of around this topic, but there will be more research that you'll need to go do after we talk here. But do you think it's possible to completely change your career in your early 40s? Is that too late to learn how to code with the aim of becoming a machine engineer? My initial answer here is it's not too late. I don't believe that 40 is so far beyond like the ability to learn something new and change your career if it's something you really want to do. Now, to do that, you're going to have to do the same thing that someone who's 20 would have to do. They would have to start from the beginning and learn it and get an internship and move up if this is something they've never done before. So, I was talking to a 27-year-old who was moving from being a chef to from being a pianist to being a coder. Well, they're being paid this much as a pianist, and they're going to be paid this much as a coder because they're, starting again. You might need to take that into consideration, looking at your life circumstances, family, commitments, other things, mortgages. There's all sorts of stuff that maybe a 23-year-old wouldn't have to deal with or wouldn't have to consider. They can take bigger risks. But I don't think that it's not worth trying. I think that, 40 in the world right now, you've got, if 65 is the retirement age, you've got a lot of years still ahead of you. And most people aren't retiring at 65. So, what do you want to do for the next 30 years of your career? I think in the next 30 years, you could learn machine engineering, learn how to become a machine engineer and pursue it. You got a long ass window. Oops, sorry, I swore. You got a long window to get there. And so I would encourage you to do it if it's something that you actually have like a strong interest in. And the only reason I would say don't do it is if you're like, I want to make this change because I heard in the news that, people who are, in this field make a lot of money. The people that I see making decisions based off that have low motivation and don't get as far. But if you actually are really interested in the topic and in the education and you really want to learn it, you're learning it on your own already, go for it. I don't see why not. But that's just my recommendation. There is some ageism in the tech world, so you want to do some research on that, and just see, like, are there organizations that are supportive? Are there companies that are more open to people of different ages? I know it's kind of a weird place right now with ageism. I know there's a lot of conversations going on, and I'm by no means an expert. So you definitely want to do a little bit of research on that. But I don't know. I'm much more of a fan of going out and learning new things and trying new things and making a change if that's what's right for you. So I encourage it. All right. This is going to be, I'm going to see how many questions we can get in 5 minutes here, but I'm going to jump to Dunya. You ask, should we explain a career change in our LinkedIn profile? This is a really interesting question. I've never come across someone who is explaining a career change in their profile. However, if you were to explain a career change, I would ask, where in the profile are you thinking of doing it? Are you doing it in the description of a job, or are you doing it in your summary? I think it is interesting to maybe call attention to a diverse career path, and maybe that's a better way to look at it. You're looking at it as a career change is maybe a negative thing, and I have to explain it to people. Whereas I don't typically look at it that way. I look at a career change as an evolution in your interests. So let's say, you go back to the person I was working with who was a pianist, right? So they were really interested in music growing up, and they were really good at the piano, and they built a career around playing the piano. Then they reached like the top of where they could get as a piano player. And they said, I'm trying to look out for my future. I'm going to go learn programming. I'm going to learn programming because it's very similar to learning music. It's a language. It's like binary kind of, all these different things there's a lot of similarities between music and coding. It's creative, but it's also like math based. And so what they said was this was the next evolution. And so I'm someone who brings, or for them, it was like, I'm someone who is bringing my background in music, in flow and math and all those different things and languages, and applying it in this new field. So I've evolved from applying it to make music to applying the same skill set to making websites and mobile apps and things like that. And so they evolved. So I would take a look at your career change. What are you coming from, and what are you moving towards? And then try and find a relational aspect that flows through those two things. What was it about your last job that set you up for this job? And then talk about it as an evolution. The way I like to talk about it, so I used to be in marketing, now I'm in career development, and actually I'm doing a bit of both, right? So I say, I merge a background in behavioral marketing with an interest in career development to help people be seen during their job search and land new roles. So that's taking my past, merging it with my future, and showing the outcome. So if you could do that, I think you're going to be in a really good place. All right, I'm going to end with one more question from Haja. What is the best way to get into Google and Amazon as a data scientist after finishing my master's at university? This is a great question because I get this all the time. And I'm going to lump this in with, well, I'm just going to give you my opinion on it. Whenever someone comes to me and says, I want to work at Google or Amazon, I ask why. And typically the answer is because it's Google or Amazon, duh. And I'm like, that's not a good enough reason. Like, there are millions and millions of people who want to work at Google and Amazon because they're the biggest names in the world. What is going to make you different? Why does Google or Amazon want you? And the truth of the matter is, if you're only wanting to work at Google and Amazon because it's a big name that will look good on your resume, it's going to be a hard conversation to have to convince them to hire you because that's what everyone wants. So you need to get a little bit deeper. I worked with someone who wanted to work at Amazon because of, voice search, and they wanted to work at Google because of Google Home. So of Alexa and Google Home. I don't want to say it because she'll chime in. And so what you need to do is say, all right, that guy had a background in linguistics, was really interested in programming, wanted to combine the two in order to work on the future of voice search. So these companies clearly make sense. They didn't just want to work at Amazon generally. They wanted to work at a specific thing at Amazon. And if they couldn't get that, they'd work at the 100 other companies that are working on that kind of technology. Siri, Google Home, and a million other things. Voice in your car, voice in your grocery store, all the different things that are out there. So instead of focusing just on big names, focus on why you want to work at those big names. What are the technologies that you're most interested in? And then open up your search. Try and find other companies, because you might not get to Google right away, but maybe you can get into Google's partners, and that will lead to Google in 5 years. Take a bigger view of it and find your way in. All right, thank you so much for your questions today. This has been an awesome conversation. Tons and tons of questions that we didn't get to, so I apologize for that. But it's been absolutely wonderful hearing everything that's on your mind, seeing your growth, seeing where you're taking things in your search. Thank you so much for joining Ask a Career Coach today. In the comments, please fill out, or we're going to share a link for the next Ask a Career Coach. So sign up today and share it with anyone else that you know who is searching for a job right now. We really want to bring in as many ideas into these conversations and try and help you as much as we can to improve your search, reduce your anxiety, and get where you want to be in your career. So thank you again for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.